How's it going, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Austin and this is Cypress and Sparrow YouTube channel. Today we're going to be doing something that we do a lot of around here on the homestead, and that is cooking, meal planning, and using the fresh produce that we've been able to harvest from the garden. On today's menu we have tomato sauce. We're going to be using a lot of tomatoes. I have tomatoes in the back already going. We might do just a little bit of spaghetti sauce depending on how much we have left over. We're going to be doing some pesto because we have a ton of basil that we need to use up. And we are going to be doing a zucchini soup, which sounds weird and sounds like, zucchini soup, I don't know about that. But it's really good, it's really savory, and it's going to make the perfect meal in the winter when we can just pull it out of the cabinet and we don't have to worry about preparing anything. We can just heat it up. It'll be golden. So if you want to see those, stick around. All right, so we have the tomatoes on the stove right now. They're going to be cooked down. We're going to strain, de-seed them, stuff like that. And if you have a good way to de-seed tomatoes, please let me know, because I don't know how to seed them. I simply just can't figure an efficient way out, but that's okay. This is part of the process. So we have the stove top tomatoes, and then we have some in the oven that we're going to use as roasted tomatoes for a roasted tomato sauce. So now I'm going to start to prep the pesto. And so what we need for pesto, if you've never made it before, it's pretty simple. It's basil, Parmesan cheese, a little bit of olive oil and garlic, and then a type of nut, whether that's an almond or traditionally it's made with pine nuts. My wife and I, we like almonds, but I think you can use walnuts. Any kind of nuts really will work for the pesto. Okay, so we have our ingredients here prepped. We have these are rough estimates, but about 2 ounces of cheese, about half a cup or so of almonds. I'm gonna be putting a couple handfuls of basil in here. We'll use about half to a quarter of a lemon, and then a few cloves of garlic, and olive oil, about 2 tablespoons or so of olive oil. First thing that I like to do is I like to put the almonds and the cheese in first, and I like to pulse that up first, because once the other ingredients are in, it gets a little bit harder to mix up, and you don't necessarily want big chunks of Parmesan or almonds in there. So that's what I like to do first, and so I'm going to go ahead and pulse it for a little bit. Okay, so we got this pulsed up now, and I can kind of tell it looks like it's going to be a little bit too much. So I'm going to take some of this out, and I'm going to save it for the next batch. I'm going to try not to make a complete mess of it. I'm going to want it to be maybe like a quarter or so of this here. Maybe a little bit less. Because really, in pesto, if you've ever had it before, the star is obviously the basil. So that looks pretty good. So we're going to put that back in here and pop that on. Now we're going to throw the rest of the ingredients in here. So I'm going to put about 1 tablespoon to 2 tablespoons of olive oil. I'm going to put a couple handfuls of basil in here. If you can get basil from your garden, that's the best, because you know it's fresh then. I don't know how dried basil would work. Probably not good. I wouldn't test it. We're going to put that in there, a few handfuls. Some of this stuff we'll have to adjust on the fly, but this stuff here, let's see if this focuses. Roasted garlic, takes it to the next level, and you just squeeze it out. It's kind of gross when you do it, but it tastes delicious. And we're gonna get one more clove, maybe 3 cloves. 3 cloves, we'll try it. This is not a perfected recipe by any means, but it works for us. All right, so now we're gonna do the juice. We're gonna start with a quarter of a lemon first, just to try it. Do a quarter of a lemon here. Oh yeah, that's a juicy lemon. Boom. Got that. All right, and now we're gonna pulse it up. All right, so we finished the first batch here of pesto, and a couple notes. Definitely add more olive oil than I recommended at the beginning. Add more olive oil and add basil as you go, and it's kind of just kind of to feel it out and see, you know, if this is the right consistency you want, the right taste. Maybe add a pinch of salt or some lemon juice. Yeah, so we made the first batch here. I'm gonna can this up, and then I'm gonna make a couple more batches, and we'll start on the tomato sauce. Okay, so we have the tomatoes on the stove right now, and they are boiling down, and so we will de-seed them and get some of the thicker guts out of the tomatoes, and then really all we have to do is blend them up, and that's pretty much gonna be the tomato sauce. If you want, you can put things like onions and garlic in, but you definitely don't have to. The only thing for sure I would put in would be just a pinch of salt or so, and then you have your tomato sauce. And after that, you can really use it for kind of whatever you want. If you want to make spaghetti sauce, if you want to make different curries, things like that, a basic plain tomato sauce will work excellent for that. So we're gonna get it potted up, and we'll be good to go.
Hi everyone, today we are making some creamy zucchini soup, and I actually got this recipe from this book called Picnic in Provence. It's about this American woman who moved to France. Anyway, there's recipes sprinkled throughout, and this one's just creamy zucchini soup, and it's actually so good. I hate zucchinis, but I really like this soup, and it's really simple. All that's in it is olive oil, onions, zucchini, and then some like chicken broth or vegetable broth, like a bouillon cube, water, and then white wine. You can even make it without white wine, and it turns out good. But yeah, so the first thing we have to do is chop our vegetables.
What are you doing there?
Quality assurance. Okay, so actually for this recipe, we are using an immersion blender, which is super awesome. Austin and I just got it at Walmart for like 30 bucks. We'll put a link in the bio, but it works super well. It's so much cleaner than just like transporting it to a blender and then doing that. But if you don't have one and you don't feel like getting one, you can always just use a blender. That works fine. It's just another step, so.
All right, so that does it for pretty much all the things we're gonna be making today. So we made a ton of just basic tomato sauce. We made some pesto, and then we made some zucchini soup. So we're just getting all those canned right now, besides the pesto, which we froze because there's dairy in it with the cheese. But yeah, we're getting all those canned up, and that's just a day in the homestead life, cooking and meal prepping and canning the food and the produce that we were able to harvest from the garden. So thank you guys for joining and watching this video. If you're curious and you want to keep on watching, we made a tour of the homestead in our last video. So feel free to click on that, and we'll see you guys in the next video.